Noch im Lager reden wir jetzt noch ein bisschen mit Alistair über andere Themen. In der letzten Folge haben wir mit ihm über seinen Templerjob geredet.
What do you need? Ask away.
Ich weiß gar nicht, ob wir das schon gefragt haben. Könnt ihr andere zu Templern ausbilden?
I suppose I could. But I really would rather not. When the Grand Cleric let Duncan recruit me, she made me swear never to reveal Templar secrets outside of the Chantry. I'd rather not go back on my word.
Okay. Also gut, dann werde ich das respektieren.
Ask me later, perhaps. Maybe I'll change my mind. This is not something small you're asking, after all.
Klar.
What do you need?
Ja.
Ask
Wir
away.
müssen halt leider immer wieder neu ihn ansprechen, das ist ein bisschen blöd. Erzählt mir von den Grauen Wächtern. Ja.
Such as they are.
Wo sind denn von hier aus die nächsten Grauen Wächter?
That's a good question. There's plenty in Orlais, but who knows where they might be found. And the nearest Orlesian city is weeks away. If we go north and cross the sea, there's bound to be some in the Free Marches. Again, however, I just don't know where. I don't know anything about Grey Wardens in other lands.
Okay. Gibt es denn irgendwo sowas wie ein Hauptquartier?
Here in Ferelden, there's our compound in Denerim at the palace, but that's it. Loghain will have control over that and be watching it, no doubt. Beyond that, the only place I know of is Weishaupt Fortress. That's the headquarters of all Grey Wardens in the Anderfells, 1,000 miles from here. But I've no idea how to even contact them. So unless we try to get back to the compound in Denerim, I suppose the answer is no. There's nowhere for us to go.
Was geschieht jetzt, wo nur noch wir beide übrig sind?
I imagine that eventually the Grey Wardens outside of Ferelden will wonder what's happened. Why there's no contact from Duncan or someone. They'll send someone eventually. Though who knows what Loghain's people in Denerim will tell them. Maybe they won't send anyone. We could try to contact them. But that would mean leaving Ferelden, and even if we did, they couldn't come back with us in time to stop the Blight. So that means whatever happens, it's up to us.
Ja, wir sind auf uns gestellt. Müssen wir den Orden wieder neu aufbauen?
I mean, eventually we would have to use the joining to make more Grey Wardens, right? But I don't know how to do the joining, or what's involved. I know it involves lyrium and some other magic and that it's really difficult to prepare, but that's it. Unless we can find out more about the joining, I guess we better get used to the idea that there might only be 2 of us for now. Until more come from elsewhere.
Das ist übrigens cool, dass man das überhaupt fragen kann. Also sonst heißt es ja immer so meistens, ja, das ist jetzt unsere Aufgabe und wir machen das total enthusiastisch, frenetisch fast schon, ohne das zu hinterfragen, ob wir das überhaupt wollen. Und fragen wir doch mal, was wohl wäre, wenn wir einfach gehen würden.
Just left? You mean just left Ferelden? I don't know. If there's an archdemon, however, we're supposed to be the only ones who can defeat it. And that means the Blight would grow unchecked. Eventually, other Grey Wardens in Orlais and other lands would hear about it, and they would come to fight it, but they wouldn't come in time to save Ferelden. There's no way. I'm not going anywhere.
Na klar. Ich habe keine Fragen mehr.
About the Grey Wardens, anyhow. Fair enough. What do you need?
Ja, ich möchte etwas fragen. Wie seid ihr selbst ein Grauer Wächter geworden?
Same way you did. You drink some blood, you choke on it, and pass out. You haven't forgotten already, have you?
Nein. Sehr witzig.
I do my best. What can I say? Let's see, I was in the Chantry before. I trained for many years to become a Templar, in fact. That's where I learned most of my skills.
Ihr macht nicht den Eindruck, besonders religiös zu sein.
You're telling me I was banished to the kitchens to scour the pots more times than I can count. And that's a lot. I can count pretty high. The Grand Cleric didn't want to let me go. Duncan was forced to conscript me, actually, and was she ever furious when he did. I thought she was going to have us both arrested. I was lucky.
Beides interessante Fragen. Denkt ihr, Duncan hatte Mitleid mit euch?
I don't know. Maybe. When he came looking for recruits, I just remember praying fervently to the Maker that he would pick me. I'll always be thankful to Duncan for recruiting me. If it hadn't been for him, you know, I wouldn't have.
Es tut mir leid, oder ich hätte ihn nicht erwähnen sollen. Es tut mir leid.
No, it's... I'm sorry. I shouldn't be... It's fine. He died a hero. They all did. Come on, let's go. I think I'm done talking.
Okay, dann sollten wir das auch gerade mal respektieren, wenn er keinen Bock mehr auf Reden hat. Wir haben auch später noch die Möglichkeit, mit ihm über andere Themen zu sprechen. Ich meine, das ist immer noch ein Rollenspiel, wenn er jetzt sagt, er will nicht mehr reden. Vielleicht würde es funktionieren, rein von der Programmierung her, aber ich möchte ja auch seinen Wunsch respektieren. Hallo Morgan, möchtest du vielleicht ein bisschen mit mir reden? Was hast du denn da alles? Was ist das für Zeug? Irgendwelche Schriftrollen? Phylakterien? Sind das Phylakterien oder sind das Tränke? Sieht auf jeden Fall gemütlich aus irgendwie. An dem Feuer zumindest. Aber am Feuer sieht es immer gemütlich aus.
What do you wish of me? If you must.
Woher wissen wir, dass sie Gestaltwanderin ist? Okay, ist Flemeth wirklich, was sie zu sein scheint?
Well, that depends, does it not? What does she seem to be?
Ein mächtiger Maleficar.
You mean, is she truly the Flemeth of legend and story? Tell me, how much do you know of the tale? The one that the chastened still tell of my mother, to frighten them into obedience.
Wir haben sie gelesen. Ich habe Teile davon gehört.
No doubt such a tale has mutated much over time and telling. I can relay what Flemeth once told me herself, and you can decide whether or not 'tis the truth, if you desire.
Das klingt doch irgendwie nach einem Deal, ne? Also ob sie jetzt zu ihr ehrlich war, ist halt auch die Frage, aber... Ja, das klingt interessant. Wir müssen bei Morgan echt aufpassen, sie ist nämlich so eine kleine Zicke und wenn man bös zu ihr ist, ist sie auch bös zurück.
As the tale is sung by the bards, there was a time when Flemeth was young and beautiful, a fair lass in a land of barbarian men, the desire of any who saw her.
Genau, das hatten wir gelesen. Ja, den Teil kenne ich.
The tales say that Flemeth fell in love with Osen the bard, and fled the castle of her husband, the dread Lord Conabar, and that he swore vengeance for her infidelity. In truth, my mother claims that 'twas Osen who was her husband, and Conabar the jealous lord, who looked on from afar. Lord Conabar approached young Osen and offered him wealth and power in exchange for his lovely wife, and Osen agreed.
Okay. Oh, das ist natürlich hart. Er hat seine Frau an einen anderen Mann verkauft.
The life of a bard is a poor one, and love fades in the wake of hunger. 'Twas Flemeth who suggested the arrangement. All would have been well had Lord Conabar kept his end of the bargain. But he was a foul man who bargained with coin he did not possess. Osen was led off to a field and slain, left for dead. Flemeth spoke to the spirits and learned of the deed, and swore revenge.
Tja, ob sie ihn wirklich geliebt hat, weiß man nicht. Sprach sie denn mit Geistern oder mit Dämonen?
Spirits first, and 'twas they who slew Conabar. Flemeth did not turn to the demon until much later. Lord Conabar's allies chased Flemeth, you see. Chased her to the wilds, and there she hid. There she found the demon, and he made her strong. The legends all speak of the great hero Cormac, he who defeated Flemeth and her great army when she invaded the lowlands centuries later. All lies.
Was? Dass sie dort eingefallen ist oder dass er sie besiegt hat? Naja, alles. Aber das muss Flemeth ja irgendwie behaupten, ne?
You would be surprised at how little my mother cares for what I or others think of her past. The truth of the matter is that there was never an invasion. As Flemeth tells it, the Chastened never raised an army under her banner, and she never fought with any warrior named Cormac. Cormac led a brutal civil war against his own people, and later claimed it was to vanquish evil that had taken root amongst the lords. Thus, he was hailed a hero. Flemeth was only attached to the legend much later. Perhaps 'twas due to the great war with the Chastened that eventually came, but Mother claims not to know how it began.
Glaubt ihr Flemeths Version?
I do not believe everything that Flemeth claims. Oft it seems her bitterness has coloured her memories. But on the whole, yes, I believe this tale, if not all.
Wie kommt es, dass sie so lange überlebt hat?
The demon within her has transformed her into something else. An abomination, perhaps some would say. I know not. I only know my mother is clever, and she is part of the wilds as it is part of her. But she is no immortal. She bleeds. A blade in her heart would kill her like any other, were it lucky enough to find her.
Sind Abscheulichkeiten normalerweise nicht dem Wahnsinn verfallene Schrecken?
How often is this usually? Always? If not always, then when is it not true? There are more things in this world and the next than you or I could ever hope to understand. What Flemeth became is a mystery. I suspect, even to her.
Die Legende sagt, Flemeth habe viele Töchter.
You ask if I have sisters. I have asked of this myself. The stories tell of many witches of the wilds after all, not just the one. And these tales existed long before I did. Flemeth refuses to speak of other daughters, if they existed. So, should I believe I am her first? I doubt that too.
Warum sollte sie sich weigern, von ihnen zu sprechen?
The Chastened tell of a falling out between Flemeth and her daughters. They say that one day she hunted them all through the wilds and ate their hearts. It may be true. I have never seen another witch or heard of one. Perhaps one day Flemeth will eat my heart as well.
Nun. Interessante Geschichte, danke.
Flemeth tells it with far more embellishment than I, but you are welcome. Dare I ask of your own mother? Few are abominations of legend, 'tis true, but I find myself curious nevertheless.
Meine Mutter. Es gibt über sie nichts zu sagen.
I see. I find myself a little envious, to tell the truth. But it matters not. Let us move on.
Weil, dass wir sie lieben, ist Quatsch, denn wir kennen sie ja gar nicht wirklich. Wir sind ja viel zu früh von ihr fortgerissen worden. Okay, Morgan.
What do you wish of me?
Was können wir sie denn noch fragen?
If you must.
Seid ihr in der Kokari-Wildnis aufgewachsen?
Why do you ask me such questions? I do not probe you for pointless information, do I?
Das könntet ihr aber, wenn ihr wolltet.
Oh, what luck. What is it you asked if I grew up in the wilds? A curious question. Where else would you picture me? For many years it was simply Flemeth and I. The wilds and its creatures were more real to me than Flemeth's tales of the world of man. In time I grew curious. I left the wilds to explore what lay beyond, never for long. Brief forays into a civilized wilderness.
Ich meine, man kann sich ja verkleiden. Wieso sollte sie jemandem auffallen? Gingt ihr denn immer wieder zurück in die Wildnis?
Would you not do the same? Your world is an unforgiving and cold place. The wilds I hail from is home to me, and I a natural denizen. For all that I had been taught, however, the truth of the civilized lands proved to be overwhelming. I was unfamiliar with so much. So confident and bold was I, yet there was much that Flemeth could never have prepared me for.
Ja, das kann ich mir schon vorstellen irgendwie, wenn man in der Wildnis aufgewachsen ist und dann plötzlich in die, in Anführungszeichen, Zivilisation kommt, wo alles vielleicht dann auf den zweiten Blick gar nicht so zivilisiert abgeht, wie man es vielleicht erwartet hätte. Das, ja, kann ich mir gut vorstellen.
I rather doubt that. Only once was I accused of being a witch of the wilds, and that by a chastened who happened to be travelling with a merchant caravan. He pointed and gasped and began shouting in his strange language, and most assumed he was casting some curse upon me. I acted the terrified girl, and naturally, he was arrested.
Tja, gut reagiert auf jeden Fall.
Men are always willing to believe two things about a woman. One, that she is weak, and two, that she finds him attractive. I played the weakling and battered my eyelashes at the captain of the guard. Child's play. The point being that I was able to move through human lands fairly easily. Whatever humans think a witch of the wild looks like, 'tis not I. Not that I did not have trouble. There are things about human society which have always puzzled me, such as the touching. Why all the touching for a simple greeting?
Anfassen wie beim Händeschütteln?
To begin with, yes. What is the point of touching my hand? I find it an offensive intrusion. There were many nuances that Flemeth could never tell me of. When to look into another's eyes, how to eat at a table, how to bargain without offending. None of these things I knew. I still do not understand it all, truth be told, but then I gave up long ago any hope of doing so. When I returned to the wilds last, I swore to Flemeth that I had no intention of leaving again.
Und dennoch seid ihr hier. Ich bin ja froh, dass es so gekommen ist.
Yes? Let's ignore the entire Darkspawn threat and the presence of a simpleton as your only other Grey Warden ally, then. Not that I lack appreciation for the intent of your comment. Thank you. Well, let's get on with it before the ground opens up and swallows us, yes?
Okay, wir haben es geschafft, dass sie nicht zu verärgern. Das freut mich sehr.
What do you wish of me?
Ich hoffe, dass
If you must.
Dass wir das noch weiterhin auch mit dem anderen Thema hinbekommen. Okay, sie ist eine Gestaltwanderin offenbar. Ein bisschen blöd, dass wir das bisher anscheinend nicht wirklich erfahren haben. Wie wurdet ihr zur Gestaltwanderin?
I was not born such. 'Tis a skill of Flemeth's, taught over many years in the wilds. The chastened have tales of we witches, saying that we assume the forms of creatures to watch them from hiding. When a child is alone and separate from his tribe, that is when we strike, dragging the young boy kicking and screaming to our lair to be devoured. A most amusing legend.
Eure Mutter kann das also schon ziemlich lange.
Changing her form, certainly. Devouring lost children, I cannot say. She has not done it in my experience, though in truth my lifespan is but a fraction of her own. Why do you ask? Is there something specific you wish to know?
Kann jemand zum Gestaltwander werden?
Anyone with sufficient will. But the act of transformation is a magical one. 'Tis a spell and thus requires a mage's talents. Indeed, you could learn the spells required if I cared to teach you.
Okay. Könnt ihr euch auch in andere Menschen verwandeln?
The form of an animal is different from my own. One may study the creature, learn to move as it does, think as it does. In time, this allows one to become as it is. I gain nothing by studying another human. I already am the same as they are. I learn nothing. So the answer is no, my human form is the only one I possess.
Okay. Verbringt ihr viel Zeit als Tier?
There were nights when the wilds called to me, 'tis true. You look upon the world around you and you think you know it well. I have smelled it as a wolf, listened as a cat, prowled shadows that you never dreamed existed. But my life is as a human. I am under no illusions to the contrary.
Wie reagieren andere Tiere auf euch, wenn ihr verwandelt seid?
They do not shy away from me. To their senses, I believe I seem like any other of their species. As to what they think, I truly cannot say. Just as I am still human, no matter my form, they are still animals. Thus they cannot speak, even were I to ask.
Von so einer Magie habe ich aber noch nie gehört.
No? 'Tis not unheard of in the remote corners of the world. There are traditions of magic outside of the circle of magi, despite what those mages would have you believe. Some of these traditions are old, indeed, passed down as carefully guarded lore from one generation to the next. The zealots of the chantry would uproot all such practitioners if they could. But as luck have it, some still exist. My mother is such a one.
Ich glaube, ich weiß gar nicht, ob sie in solchen Kategorien denkt, mit den Abtrünnigen. Aber irgendwie ist es ja cool, dass es sowas noch gibt, ne? Und wir haben ja immerhin elfische Wurzeln, also können wir das durchaus verstehen, diese Naturverbundenheit. Weil die Dalish sind auch extrem naturverbunden. Also antworten wir, das ist gut. Derlei Traditionen müssen erhalten werden.
I'm shocked that you think so. Being a mage of the circle as you were. But perhaps you felt a little like a caged bird as well, caught within that dark tower.
Definitiv, nachdem wir ja vorher freie Elfen waren. Sehr sogar, ein bisschen vielleicht. Ist jetzt so die Frage, ne? Vorher waren wir da ja eher so ein bisschen zurückhaltend mit dem Thema, weil jetzt, wo wir frei sind, doch schon, ja.
I thought so.
Ja, das ist alles, was ich fragen wollte.
Indeed. Have you an opinion on my abilities, then? Am I an unnatural abomination to be put to the torch?
Wären wir ein aufrichtiger Zirkelmagier, würden wir das jetzt wahrscheinlich denken. Das wäre das Mindeste. Nö, ich finde das doch nützlich.
A most practical opinion. Far more so than any man I have spoken to. But enough of such talk. Let us proceed, lest the dust gather on us.
Oh, und Morgan mag uns jetzt.
What do you wish of me?
Okay, letzte Frage.
If you must.
Könntet ihr anderen beibringen, sich zu verwandeln?
By others, do you mean yourself?
Ja.
Then I shall teach you what I can whenever we are in camp, provided you have the will to even make the attempt, that is.
Spezialisierung freigeschaltet, Formwandler, yay. Das ist genial. Im Moment können wir die allerdings nicht angucken. Schade. Okay, letzte Frage jetzt.
If you must.
Wurdet ihr denn schon mal von der Kirche gejagt?
My mother has been hunted from time to time, yes, by Templar fools like Alistair, which should tell you how successful they generally were.
Nun.
Flemeth made a bit of a game of it, in fact. The Templars would come again, and she would look at me and smile and say that the fun was to begin once more.
Sie haben euch keine Schwierigkeiten gemacht?
I am unsure. I was too young to understand, and perhaps 'twas bravado on Flemeth's part, or perhaps she was merely amused. I will never know. Flemeth would warn them, once. 'Twas a warning they inevitably failed to heed. And then the true game began. Often Flemeth would use me as bait. A little girl to scream and run and lure the Templars deeper into the wilds and to their doom.
Oh weia. Das ist böse. Flemeth benutzte euch als Köder?
'Twas a game and I a young girl. If I didn't get to play, I would have been very upset. Thankfully, the wilds is a vast place. Once they found us, Flemeth would simply move us elsewhere and we would be lost within the forest once again. I did not understand the danger we faced until I was much older. I had never heard of apostates or maleficarum.
Bedauert ihr gar nicht, was ihr mit diesen Männern gemacht habt? Ich weiß ja nicht. Also, wie gesagt, wir sind ja jetzt nicht so die heiligen Samariter, insofern. Und uns hätten die Templer ja auch einfach niedergeschnetzelt, wenn wir Pech gehabt hätten. Haltet ihr es immer noch für Spaß?
I think that my mother made it fun so that a child did not learn to fear. And I think that it was necessary. There are no trials for apostates, no prisons, no mercy. There are only absolutes, so only survival matters. If the wilds have taught me anything, 'tis this. First, you must survive. Do you disagree?
Gibt Schlimmeres als den Tod. Durchaus, ja, das könnte sein.
Oh? I would ask what exactly, but I'm certain that would be a lengthy conversation, and suddenly I grow very weary. Enough of this talk. Let us return to the task at hand.
Und das mochte sie nicht. Ja, es ist halt, wenn man mit ihr auch nur ein bisschen nicht d'accord geht, ist sie halt direkt etwas angepisst. Das macht jetzt aber nichts, weil wir haben sie schon ganz schön unsere Seite gebracht. Ich meine, +9, das ist okay. Okay, das war's hier im Lager und in der nächsten Folge werden wir das Lager verlassen und nach Lothering gehen, denn das ist im Moment unsere einzige Richtung, in die wir gehen können. Noch wichtig zum Lager vielleicht zu sagen ist, dass sobald wir hier hinkommen, werden unsere Verletzungen geheilt. Das ist sowas wie Rasten damals in den ganz alten Rollenspielen war. Wenn man eben, wenn die Gruppe erschöpft war. Und das ist durchaus nützlich, da muss man nämlich keine Verletzungsausrüstung verschwenden. Okay, Leute, dann sehen wir uns in der nächsten Folge wieder und werden nach Lothering gehen. Ich glaube auch, dass hier noch mehr Leute dazukommen werden. Also unsere Begleiter werden sich dann hier um das Feuer versammeln, beziehungsweise je nachdem. Und wir werden auch noch jemanden bekommen, der uns mit den Runen helfen kann. Das heißt, die Runen werden durchaus noch nützlich werden. Leider haben wir noch kein Lager, wo wir Sachen lagern können. Aber vielleicht finden wir das ja dann später noch in der Stadt. Okay, bis zum nächsten Mal. Ciao.